Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Gluu webinar that you joined today for consultants and how to digitalize operations with Gluu. Gluu is a business process management platform that makes processes easier to understand, execute, and improve. And today we'll focus on how you can help your clients to digitalize operations with Gluu. My name is Louise, and I'm the Partnership Manager at Gluu. And today I have two guests with me to help us explore this topic. Søren and Rasmus, could you maybe just introduce yourselves to our guests?
Sure, I can go first. My name is Søren Pommer. I'm the founder of Gluu, working with business processes for many years. So, Rasmus, looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you. My name is Rasmus. I'm the founder of Refine Consulting, and I support different companies, organizations in Denmark in developing their processes.
Thank you for that, guys. So basically, we have an expert on Gluu with us and an expert partner that uses Gluu with customers. And this webinar will be in two parts today. First, Søren will share with us how Gluu can help your clients realize your recommendations, making you a more valued partner. And after that, Rasmus will share his learnings and experiences about how he uses Gluu with his actual clients. So Søren, you go right ahead.
Thank you, Louise.
And of course, you guys please ask any questions you might have. Just drop them in the chat for us. If you joined us on LinkedIn or YouTube, it doesn't matter. We'll see your questions.
Great. Thanks. We'll jump right into it. I'll give you a quick introduction to Gluu and to our partnership model. So let's jump right into it. Shortly about Gluu. We say that Gluu empowers process leaders to engage business users in turning business processes into real ways of working for higher efficiency and lower risk. And if you look at our customers, we work with customers, with companies of several thousand employees down to just a few employees, down to I think 20 or something. And you can buy Gluu via the Microsoft Azure Marketplace, so you can actually buy Gluu under your existing Microsoft agreement, thereby not really having a purchasing relationship with Gluu if you are somewhere in the world and you prefer to deal with Microsoft. So that's an important thing to stress from the start, because I know from experience that if you're far away from the company that is providing a service, then you may be a little bit uncertain as a local client. So important one to stress. Let's jump into it. Gluu, as Louise was saying, has three functional areas. It starts with understanding work, so you can map your flows, add work instructions, communicate, manage changes, everything to do with creating a baseline for how you work, creating a common understanding of how you work. And some of our clients actually stop there, at least for a while. But then when certain processes are mature, they don't want to change them too often any longer, then they move to execute, where they can actually run their processes, end-to-end processes across all the functional silos, across all the existing systems. And we can connect now with robots, with bots, with AI, and you can do registrations. And this is where it really becomes interesting for partners, because it allows you to quickly digitalize a real end-to-end business flow without turning it into an IT project. Lastly, another very important point where we see a lot of value in collaborating with partners is that obviously when people start using apps and everything to complete flows, then we generate a lot of data that can be used for optimizing, for instance, throughput times. But often clients don't have the capacity or the knowledge to do it themselves. So they are really looking for partners to help them with this. So it's a great opportunity for our partners to to sell value-added services on top of the Gluu platform. So I'll get a little bit more into that, but it's a nice way of keeping your client engaged and going into a mode of continuous improvement with your client. So that was very shortly about the platform. We're not going to go so much into it today, but just a little bit about the screens. Here you see at the center, you see in the background the dashboard. You can customize exactly the information you need by role. You also see a process flow where you click through it, and it's an interactive guide that you can use for work instructions. And then some people are working with the process, but most people are using the app, working inside the process, where they get work instructions and tasks at the right time. And then finally, if you look at the right-hand side, everything is reportable, so automatically, so you can get a complete transparency of your flow. And this is, of course, important for all kinds of compliance and business improvement reasons. So this is not a Gluu demo, and if you are looking for information on Gluu, we have tons of stuff on our YouTube site, and we're also happy to share, of course. So let's jump in. Let's look at a couple of partner customer cases for an illustration of how something like this often comes about. The first case is Norlys. They were looking for a better way to integrate acquisitions and realize synergies. And they wanted a common foundation for business processes, and they were at the time using another BPM tool. And this meant that they couldn't really eliminate the gaps between the processes and the real work practice. So what happened was they selected Gluu, and we quickly trained them, and then they worked with our partner to establish the whole governance, map processes to get the whole foundation in place. It took some time because it was a very big effort in the company. But now they are at the point where they have standardized and connected lots of processes that are being managed by lots of process owners, and they are reaching a lot of business users. So they really have achieved a good foundation now. It has enabled the implementation of a common ERP system. And of course, every time you can reuse your processes, you're saving a lot of money. And some happy people that are getting different benefits on this. This is the director of the service, but also end users getting a lot out of this. A second case is much smaller. A contractor in another part of Denmark. They were having projects that were dragging down their bottom line, or at least adding risk to the company. So it was too paper intensive. So they needed a standardized best practice approach to lower the risk and increase the efficiency of their projects. And what they did was they worked with one of our partners to define a new process for running processes. And now they use the Gluu app for all their projects. So people on the construction side are actually taking photos, completing tasks, and they eliminated a lot of paper and simplified the whole flow. So every contracting job is kind of run in this way. And some of the benefits is they have been able to grow a lot without adding a new headcount. So that's a different type of case, and maybe for a lot of you out there, this is a more interesting case, I can imagine, because this is very hands-on digitalization of a specific process, and I know this is also much more related to what Rasmus will be talking about later. But just to show you a little bit of the scope of the projects that we're working with. So moving on, our value proposition to you as a consulting partner is basically that lots of digital transformations and also smaller digitalizations of processes, they really fail to deliver any real change. They become IT projects. And these are, by Boston Consulting Group, the 7 reasons, or 6 success factors for successful transformation. and we can help you with 3 of them at least. This agile governance, the fact that you can change things often and have clear governance, that of course is a part of Gluu, that you can monitor and measure. Processes become very tangible in Gluu. And then of course the modernization of your tech stack can be helped if you map processes, add work instructions, and connect assets and systems. Then you will know exactly which processes are using which systems, and you have enabled system replacement and so forth. So these are some of the from a high level point of view, some of the things we can help you with. Another perspective is if you look at these 2 comparisons, often in a classic sense, digitalization has been mostly about IT. You have if you look at the top here, you have your diagnosis phase where you map your as-is processes, you develop some new ones, you adjust a little bit, and you do a requirement spec, and then you're done as a management consultant. And then the customer waits for years, maybe, or at least months, and they get something back, and it's surprisingly not necessarily what they were looking for, and it has been often cost overruns and so forth. And this model we think is a bit broken. So we see digitalization as a business improvement exercise driven by management consultants. So in the bottom half, you can see maybe your future project. You can see how you map, and then you test and trial, and you engage with users, you stabilize something, you measure even maybe, you then go to B, if you want, you test again, you have different variations, testing against them, which one is working better. And slowly you can actually go into operations with this. I'm just gonna turn off my processes further into actually becoming IT projects. They may be running in Gluu. Of course, this is where how we make our money, but you can start off by using it just as a project tool, and then you can postpone the decision of whether the client wants to use Gluu or not for a later day. We don't have to make the decision at the onset of the project. It's an option, but not an obligation you have at a later stage. So I think it's very important to stress that if you partner with us, you can get faster results for your clients, but you can also get a larger share of their digitalization budget completely in a transparent way, in a way that makes sense for your clients. If you look at a classic consultancy project, how do we support each phase? So first of all, of course, you may start off with a few people in the core team mapping as-is processes, just like you would do in Visio. But if you put it in Gluu immediately, you don't have to spend all the time of redrawing brown paper maps and having a lot of email communications back and forth. Secondly, when you go into development, you can actually keep track of all the changes, all the input, everything that's coming along. So you spend your time facilitating rather than being the admin person for the project. And then implementation, as I was saying, you can actually go into operations with Gluu. So you can run. We have many clients that thought they needed another system, but they got their requirements for digital support fully covered in Gluu, and now their need is no longer there. They are spending that money on something else. So this means that it will be a very gradual, agile transition from the first workshop until you are in operations, or as far as you want, basically. So this brings us a little bit to the partnership goals that we have for a partnership with you. Well, basically, it's about offering more complete solutions to customers, because we are not vertical experts, industry experts. We don't know specific processes necessarily that well. This is where you come in, so we can supplement each other, because you have all the local knowledge, you have all the knowledge of how certain processes should be developed for the specific client. And if we work together, then they get a better solution. And then after the project, we have a chance, because that's how it goes these days. Nothing is perfect when you hand over the project, but if you can deliver continuous improvement, then you can go through many loops of learning and iterations, and you can get to a higher level of quality in the process. And all of this should and we see it from practice. We have better client relationships when we are working with consultants, because there is not a missing factor in there. So it gives us more sustainable results. And on the other hand, consulting partners with Gluu have a natural way of engaging with clients after a project would typically end. So let's move on a little bit later or more. Talking about the division of labor between us and you. Basically, you are the one who is, it's your client in that way. You have the relationship. We may not meet them at all, but you front the customers, you sell your service, and we are in your bag as a tool. And then you also sell your advisory services. We don't involve us there. It's completely up to you, like you have been doing all the time. And then you may also, if you want, sell training in Gluu. Maybe you have certain ways of integrating both how Gluu is used, but also how it's used around a certain use case. So all of this is for you to decide and how to do. Then you can draw on us. We're standing behind you, and we provide sales support. This means talking about possible cases, talking about how Gluu could be used, building demos, maybe as processes together with you. Obviously, we deliver the platform and all the updates and upgrades. It's a software as a service platform, so you have almost monthly updates. We provide end user support. So this means that while the relationship with a customer is with you, maybe the end users should still be able to connect with Gluu, so that they get basic tool support. You don't have to worry about that. We also provide tool training if you want it. So this means basically specifically how to use Gluu. We can help your client employees to understand. And finally, when you get to a higher level of maturity in a client's operations, obviously integrations can be interesting, and we deliver from the Microsoft Cloud and can easily integrate with, for instance, Dynamics 365, and we already have integrations also with SharePoint and tools like that. But we can also build something a little bit more custom through a very powerful API. So that's the relationship. We basically just want to stand behind you guys and support you, and also help to say sometimes when projects are not relevant for Gluu, because it will lead to a poor project at some point if we don't say so. I don't want to go through this in detail, but what we often try to help our clients to do is to spot opportunities to deploy Gluu as a tool. And if you look at some of the 25 opportunities we have identified, let's go through them very quickly. One is customer experience management, for instance, mapping all touch points. It could also be actually, if you have if you're a production company, you'd have made to order products. Maybe you want to document that you have followed your own process for each batch or each product. Well, with this reporting Gluu, you can do that automatically. Cost reduction, I think that should be obvious when we're working with processes. Cost of non-quality, this is very much like for quality managers, but really managing all the standard things you need in terms of complaints management, claims, preventive maintenance, all these type of processes. Also in that line, compliance. If you have compliance needs to authorities and ISO and other parties, the customers, you can you can make sure that you are following your standards, and you can prove that things have been running in accordance with the process you have set up. Then a maybe surprising one is employee satisfaction. It is proven that, for instance, if you have role clarity, so people know exactly what to do, they have higher job satisfaction and they're more productive. So that's another angle. You can also run e-learning, for instance, with Gluu, and it's a nice add-on to, for instance, an ERP systems implementation, where suddenly you can do the learning part without having to shift systems. And digitalization is obvious, but obviously lots of connections. If you're doing an RPA project, if you're working with AI, maybe you want to make sure that your process foundation is in place first. And then finally, risk management. More importantly, that you actually can prove you are on top of things risk-wise, especially, for instance, in financial services and other sectors like that. So I guess that's a very short, quick intro to Gluu, but I don't want to talk too much, because the most interesting person to hear from is Rasmus, I think. So I'm gonna jump a little bit out of the picture and maybe leave the floor to you, Rasmus, now. If you can share with us a little bit what it's like on the ground.
Exactly. Exactly. Just for your information, I'm focusing especially on the Danish construction industry in Denmark. So this is where I typically meet my clients. And typically, I meet a client as they have reached a size where they are not longer able to organize, to secure coordination of their daily task processes around the table, because they have grown too big. And therefore, I'm often invited to have a dialogue how to secure a better structuration of the processes and how they are organized. And historically, we of course have tried to support our customers throughout classical process mapping and development. And I think you all agree that of course this approach itself is value creating. Of course, having a dialogue about the responsibility, how to organize the process, basically supports the management to drive a more focused organization in the end. But I guess many of you might agree that one of the major problems we as business consultants meet is our ability to secure implementation in the end of the day. Of course, we are able to discuss the process and find a smart way how to structure the way we work. But in the end, if we are only able to implement the processes with the management and directly communication, it's quite hard. So years ago, we of course seek how to implement this and how to secure that processes are communicated in the organizations. Way back, I guess a business management process system would be a quite hard thing to implement in a small organization, and might also have been a too heavy tool in the end. But as we recognized Gluu, we saw another easy way to use the software to drive both the process development and also to support us in the implementation of the new processes. So this is where we are standing today.
I remember, Rasmus, that when we originally partnered some years back, you had actually a project for a client to look for a solution, right? And you scanned the market, and you found that, wow, it's expensive and hard to get started with. And can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, exactly. First of all, the maturity, the digital maturity of our customers normally ain't that high. They're using maybe standard Microsoft tools, maybe they're using an email tools at this level. So the thing is how to digitalize this organization. It might be a quite big step for many of our clients to use more more larger systems in the end. So we were looking for particular a easy systems that connects different processes and will be easy for the organization in the end to maintain and to use on daily basis. So what we tried was to map out the processes, the value chain. For example, we set focus on the sales process in the organization. We also set focus on the operations, how to plan a construction project, how to do the execution of the project. We mapped out these processes and find out that monitoring the process from sale throughout the operations, we needed a tool to support these administrative processes. And
so it was the flow in the whole value chain, right? From
actually, yeah.
Really at the core of what you do, as I see it, the core flow through the value chain end to end, that you really have that under control, because that's really what makes or breaks your business.
Yeah. And our customers really like the way that we typically were able to visualize the process in visual like this. So it was quite obviously that we saw Gluu. We saw the ability to still visualize the processes, have the discussion directly with our customers, how we could improve the processes and create a smart design, how to run sales process, the operations processes, and therefore it wasn't a question about if we wanted to use a specific IT tool. This helped us set focus on the process development, and the value is that we easily got the opportunity to implement, to communicate the process as Gluu support this as we can drive active cases with Gluu in the end.
Rasmus, I know that you are driving a lot and you have a long way, a few hours to many of your clients. So can you say a little bit about how this using Gluu has changed your ability to collaborate online with clients?
Yeah. Of course, Denmark ain't that big compared to other
we're probably
countries.
Complaining about nothing, right?
I guess, but though it takes time to meet physically, and in the end, we do not see a project as a project with a short with a start and end time. We see it more as a cooperation where we are able to cooperate over time and to improve the process over time. So when we start with a client, of course, we have some physical meetings where we design the overall process map. But when we have to make a deep dive and describe the process in details, to create the instructions and to secure this, we are able to set up a line of small meetings where we have check-ins with specific employees with specialized knowledge about specific tasks. And this makes us able to quite fast actually describe the processes, as we might have 1-2 kickoff meetings in the very beginning. Then we set up a group that could help us describe different steps in the processes. And from that point, we can have some small check-ins, develop the processes during their besides their daily operations, with a check-in of half an hour, 1 hour, and over a period from 2 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, we have been able to develop and improve an entire processes. And I do not think that the ideal way is to think that we can develop the process and refine it to a high level, but to make a version 1.0 and to get started, to get some tests and some quick learnings, also secures that we can have a quite fast implementation of the processes. So we're not sitting for half a year discussing the process, how it should be, and then have to decide how to implement it. We do it over a few weeks, describe the processes, and immediately we are able to set up the first to set up the first test and get some feedback how the process works in real life. And this is really value creating for both us as a consultant, but also for our customers in the end.
One thing that I find impressive with your work, Rasmus, is many of your clients are really not very tech savvy. They are companies where they are just on the way to implement, Office 365 and maybe also Dynamics 365. That's in the horizon.
Yeah.
So how do you actually get them on board with digitalization so early? How can you do that? It's quite impressive.
Yeah, but I think it's about how to involve them from the very beginning. So I'm not sitting alone describing processes. I'm not interviewing people. I'm sharing my screen, and together with the customers in a live session, we are able to discuss how they work. And as I'm describing exactly how they work, how their processes, how their process flows look like, the adaptation is more easy because it's not a new system, it's a description of their own processes. Of course, we have a tool in Gluu where they should be familiar with the new dashboard where they can monitorize the processes. But it looks like most of the programs in Microsoft universe, so it's it feels like quite easy for them to adapt the tool in the end. But the real thing is that we just have a dialogue and are discussing their daily work, and therefore they also have a quite high level of engagement to this.
That's something I really like about the way you work, Rasmus, because you do a very good job of, like you said, making sure that your clients feel like they're working on their processes and you're just supporting them in doing that. You're not the one in charge of mapping out their processes. No. They are. You're just helping them, because that's exactly what we also recommend to customers that do not have the opportunity or the need to use consultants for process work.
Actually, sorry.
No, I will just say one of the big learnings I've had is that if we use too long periods to describe and develop a process and think that we are able to make the ideal process in the first loop, we will lose the customers in the implementation actually, because of course in the very beginning the customer might be quite engaged in this project, and they also describe the way of work quite detailed and are quite engaged in this. But when it comes to the implementation, if we try to make a too big step to implement too many detailed tools, way of monitoring the tasks, they stand off basically. So the way we do it is to have some small runs. We make an early version 1.0, and try it off and get some quick feedback. And often they say it's too detailed. So okay, fair enough. So then we make a new version and focused on the most important parts in the processes. And this iteration, if we do it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, often we get a quite fine description of the processes, and they are able to see themselves in these descriptions and find the level of monitoring the process fine. Yeah, so this is a quite important way to organize the improvement and the implementation of these projects.
So if I may summarize what I hear you say, it's a lot about perfection through repetition. You have all the little improvement loops, and the customers on board, and you are a little bit stepping back as the facilitator.
Yes.
I think this really hits the hammer on the nail for one of the big problems, because many times normal employees in companies, they don't really like consultants because they're telling them what to do. And if you can get beyond that problem, if they can facilitate your own collaboration, you don't have this, I don't want to do this process because these consultants don't know what they're talking about. But if I created the process, it's a matter of integrity for me, whether or not I do as I say I do. That's a great insight, I think.
Indeed. And though it's an organization with 20 employees or it's an organization with 200 employees, we are able to find define some groups with representatives from the different departments and so on, and exactly get the commitment to these projects. So it's I don't think of course an organization can be too big to do it in this way, but I have performed it for an organization from 20 people up to like 300 people in this way, and it has been quite successful actually.
So Rasmus, if we could talk a little bit about the opportunities to use Gluu and where you think Gluu is good, very relevant, and maybe less relevant. I mean, I know you are looking very much at the value chain, and of course this is the most important part of especially a construction business, because that's where all the risk is and all the profit is made or lost. But if you think about other use cases, maybe think about some that you find are also very useful to look at, but maybe also some where you don't think Gluu is a fit. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, at least I can try. Of course. Of course, we use it on the core processes, but also on processes related to HR, where we are, for example, have to create better onboarding processes, offboarding process, and etc. All these support processes. It's quite value creating for the customers also to focus on this, because maybe they're not thinking about how much time they're using on this, but to get more structured processes also helps them to get a more professional way of welcome new employees, etc. So the support processes to the organizations, we also focus on them as well.
Makes sense.
You use Gluu's task management quite a lot. I mean, you can use Gluu without the task management, just as a traditional business process management tool. But you utilize the task management quite a lot. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on why that is, and what the benefits of using that part of Gluu? Because that's one of the places where Gluu is quite different than most of the traditional business process management platforms out there.
in small organizations, there ain't a culture to read process maps and to check in the systems if I'm supposed to do a specific task, and to read the instruction and follow the instructions. They comes from my maybe nothing, and so how to secure that they follow the process and instruction in the end of the day. We have realized that if we can make some small benefits, create some smart checklists, and implement these smart checklists in Gluu, which maybe gives the would maybe replace a small Excel sheet or something. We create a directly value. They're not longer supposed to find an old Excel sheet. Now they can use a smart checklist in Gluu and perform a specific task instead. And they might spare some time in doing this. But the smart thing is, if we anchor this in some very important tasks in the organization, for example, how they are able to document change in their customer agreements, if they can create a task, fill out a form for this and use it in Gluu, we get them on the platform, and they are even closer to follow the instruction and the process that we have described. So this is about how to nudge them to use Gluu and to go into the platform and read the processes, follow the processes. So it's about to find out where there are some small value creating sort of small gifts we can give them easily. So to detect these small checklist that creates value, it's a very important thing to do.
So I guess if you win over the people in the front line that are actually doing the work, then you win the battle, so to speak, for the hearts and minds and for the digitalization.
So, exactly. We need to find the core task and support the core task for the employees directly with Gluu.
And by doing so, you're basically turning the process into a tool for the employee that's making their everyday life and their tasks easier.
Yeah, exactly. They won't think that they are following a specific greater process. They are performing their daily tasks and using the standards that we have described in the system. And it might be the way.
Rasmus,
sorry, go ahead, Sean.
No, I was thinking, I know recently you've been working more and more with manufacturing companies that are doing made-to-order production, because you actually see quite some similarities between a contractor doing a building project.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're almost getting into the space of using Gluu as almost like a manufacturing planning system. Could you say a little bit about that? And also maybe share some of the limitations, just to be completely transparent, that we're not a fully fledged manufacturing system.
At this point, we have realized that the processes from sales to planning and to design the projects in these production companies, these processes are quite lean actually. So we are able to develop some detailed process with some steps and make some well described milestones through the processes, and this is very helpful to monitorize their entire their entire projects in the organizations, and to help them plan their production in the end. Because for the lead time from different projects, from sales to the production, we're ready to start, the overview here was controlled in typically Excel sheets, and the processes were quite detailed, and the overview was so hard to get in these Excel sheets, because if we had to be in control, yeah, they were needed to have quite detailed descriptions and a touch point in the Excel sheets here. So to get out of the Excel sheet, to have redesigned the processes and then uses these way of thinking, the milestones from and the lead time towards the production. This really supports this organization in getting a great overview for their entire production actually. But we are not using Gluu directly in the production to control the production lines, but until the production starts, so all the planning until the production starts, there we are able to use Gluu.
Yeah, so the end-to-end flow for each order, so that you know
exactly.
Yeah.
From sale to planning, and also to the delivery in the end.
But I can imagine if you can really shorten the throughput time of this, you can have a huge impact on the bottom line in terms of order to cash.
Yeah, exactly. And to get this overview in an Excel sheet, it's quite hard. But as we are able to describe the process more detailed and monitorize each task more detailed, it's quite easier to see the lead time for the projects, and to see how to optimize the timeline here.
And just for the understanding of the people out there watching this webinar that are not Gluu experts like you, Rasmus, you are getting that overview to your clients by using Gluu's task management, what we call cases, really, which allows you to put in the milestones as tasks at a certain time throughout that order process, and then every time they reach a milestone, they'll tick that box, and that allows them to always see how far along they are with a certain order.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
That's great. Maybe I have one question from one in the audience. They ask approximately how many projects you have done in your company with Gluu. Did you have any idea?
Yeah,
we've been working together for quite some years. What is it now?
Yeah, 5 years, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I do have typically 2-3 new clients per year, and where we are creating this. So in total, I will say that we are plus 10 great projects. But the case is, a project in our world ain't for a period of 3 months, because we are using Gluu and are following the customers and the improvement. We have been able to support the customers for several years. So a project for us could easily be for 2 years, where we are, of course, in the beginning having a high tempo, where we are describing and developing the processes, but we are following the implementation for the first year, the second year, and are doing some iterations, improvements with the customers. So this is also quite interesting for our business model, actually, that we are able to keep the cooperation and actually to create a deep partnership with our customers. So this is where we are getting a high value as a consultant.
And as far as I remember, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have never lost a joint customer in that sense, and I think that would be a testament to the loyalty effect.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah, well there was one that went bankrupt, a construction company, but
that's how it goes sometimes.
A little bit out of our hands.
Yeah, exactly. But we have successfully fully kept our customers on the platform for all the years, actually.
Well, maybe, I mean, Rasmus, we could keep going, but maybe in respect of your time and everybody else's time, maybe we should round it off. Thanks so much for joining this webinar. And what I think is just left to do now is maybe, Louise, you want to go through our process, because of course we have such a process for, if you want to explore a partnership, which steps you would go through. So let me just share that. If you could share that a little bit, Louise, that would be great.
Yeah, and I see a question just popped up, so we'll make sure to address that right after Morten, just so you don't think we'll just close off the webinar without answering your question as well. So if you want to partner with Gluu, this is usually the process we follow, starting off, of course, with a brief introduction, sort of like the introduction this webinar has given you today, just to give you an idea of how we work and for us to get an understanding of who you are. In the next step, which is our what we call our exploration call, where we get to understand your business as well and how you work with processes and how you could see Gluu being utilized towards your customers. And of course, at this stage, either can of course say, okay, well, this is not for us. We're not on the same page here, as we're just exploring a potential partnership. But after the exploration call, if you would like to know more and talk more about more specific options with your customers, we provide a Gluu Partner account, which is of course free of charge for you, where you have the option to set up different processes that you can use to showcase when you have new clients coming in, or just for you to test new features in Gluu, for instance, that kind of thing. And then we offer a sales training as well, which tries to educate you on the best ways to use Gluu and the best options in different types of businesses where Gluu can be useful. A little bit similar to what Søren showed you in his presentation earlier with the 25 different areas. And once you have your first customer lined up for Gluu that you want to pitch Gluu to, we'll of course support you in any way that you need. If you want to do everything yourself, you can do that, and we'll just stay in the background and just answer any questions you might have. And if you want us to be more involved in that part for the first couple of clients, we are happy to do that too and participate in some of your client meetings if you'd like us to. And when you've done our sales training, you can call yourself a Gluu Partner, and we consider you one, but we have different stages of partnership. So as you move along with your first sale or a couple of sales, then you also have the option to be a certified Gluu Partner as well. And we also offer the option for your company to be a certified Gluu Partner. So not only individual consultants can be Gluu Partners. And we do try to, if say we have customers come to us that were not sent our way by a consultant, if they have a need for support from a consultant and we see a good fit with you and the knowledge you have in a certain line of business, then we will of course recommend our partners, consultancy partners to those customers, so that we make it a two-way street. You bring business to us, but we also try to bring business to you. Do you have anything to add to that, maybe, Son?
No, I think it was a very thorough run through of our process. I think we're just inviting everybody who's interested to take the next step. Before we Louise's contact details, before we close the call, we still have a question from one in the team. I'll just make sure we answer that. Is process tailoring possible? What he means is different teams are guided to use different versions of processes. And yes, first of all, you can, for each process, you can quickly clone the process. You can add different roles. You can also make sure different locations work with processes in different ways. And when you're actually executing the process, we have something we call case templates, which is basically variations of the process. So there should be lots of opportunities to use the same foundation process for many different purposes. For instance, different product types, different customer types, or whatever you need, where you need the flexibility in the sequence of tasks and so on. But you don't want to recreate everything all the time. So I hope that kind of made it clear. But what we could do, if you're interested, explore it a bit further in one of those explorative calls, for sure. So.
Yeah, and we're of course also happy during that step in the process of showing you a little bit more of the platform, do a platform demo just to give you an idea of how it works. And I think, Son, in the beginning, you also said that we have a pretty good YouTube channel that shows you some of our different features and also articles are accessible from our website on the features and how to use them.
Yeah, great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have nothing more to add. So let's say thank you and goodbye for today. Unless you have something, Louise?
No, that was it for me too. So it's been a pleasure, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions after this webinar. We're happy to talk to you some more, maybe one-on-one instead of webinar questions. So.
Yeah, and maybe mention that the recording is available both on LinkedIn but also on our YouTube channel in case you want to share this with some of your partners or consultants in your business. So thanks.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.